Hey guys, so in a few classes we had time to go over the FRQ today. Not in all my classes though, so I am going over this video now. Hopefully I don't get interrupted by Matthew. He's coloring. The dog is somewhere, and my husband is due home. You're painting, sorry. And my husband is home due home anytime, so he'll probably walk through that door in like 2 seconds. So there was a PPF curve between Artlyn and Raylan making hats and bikes. Go get some water. Okay. And you're supposed to, first thing first, I would do like a little table between Artlyn and Raylan, hats and bikes. And it looked like Raylan was making 1,200 hats or 300 bikes, and Artlyn was making 600 hats and 300 bikes. And the first question was like, what is the opportunity cost for a bike in Artlyn? And I didn't bring home the FRQ with me, so I'm like going off my head. And it goes straight to opportunity cost. So it's not even asking for absolute advantage. It's going straight to comparative advantage. So this was an output problem because this is how many hats and bikes that they are producing. So you have to figure out output. And the way to remember how to do the math for output is the other number comes over. So I made a little chart over here where I brought the other number, like this 300, comes over the 1,200. The 1,200 goes over the 300 over here. And same thing for Artlyn. And then I hope that this isn't flipped. Like, I hope you can see what I'm seeing and not like what I'm seeing on the screen because it's like backwards. Okay, so Artlyn, if they were to make one bike, that's what the fractions are for, is to figure opportunity cost for one. And so if Artlyn, you go to Artlyn, opportunity cost of one bike, it should be 2 and 2 hats. Remember, what you're giving up is the other thing. So the cost of a bike is a hat, and the cost of a hat is a bike. So when that number 2 of 600 divided by 300, that is 2 hats, because that's the cost of one bike. Okay. Yes, dear. Make it quick. You didn't have anything to say? Okay, well, if you think of it, raise your hand again, okay? Okay. And then the next question says, who is going to import bicycles? Well, it's whoever doesn't make them. And so you have to figure out who has comparative advantage for each. And Raylan had a comparative advantage in hat making, and Artlyn had a comparative advantage in bikes. So Artlyn's making the bikes, but the person that's going to be importing them is whoever needs them. You're not going to be importing something that you make. So it's Raylan is going to be importing them, and it's because they have a comparative disadvantage in bikes, which is why they're going to have to, make them, or they're going to have to import them from Artlyn, who has the comparative advantage in bicycles. The next question is all about the trade agreement. And it said if one, I'm rewriting this down. I should have had this ready to go. If one bike equals, I'm going to have to look up the screen. I think I saved it. And I close that tab. I wonder what you're seeing right now. Are you seeing me? Or are you seeing my screen? It was 2008. AP exam, and all the FRQs are online ready for you guys to look at. So use those resources, not in class, but when you're studying. Okay, so the terms of trade was 5 hats for one bike. Oh, where's my screen of me? There I am. Okay, 5 hats for one bike, which vice versa, that means one bike is going to be equal, for 1/5 of a hat.
Can you really see them?
No, I can't see them.
But they can see you.
They can see me. Magic, the internet. Okay. So 5 hats is for one bike. That was given to you in the problem. And so if it takes 5 hats to give you one bike is only going to give you 1/5 of a hat. Is that right? That seems like that would be backwards. 5 hats for one bike. One bike gives you a fifth of a hat. No. Stop. This is what happens when I'm not prepared. Let's go back, shall we? 5 hats, one bike. Those are the same. That makes sense. 5 hats, you need lots of hats because they're small for one bike. Which means if you only have one hat, it's going to be a fifth of a bike. That makes sense because it takes 5 to get one. So if you only have one hat, you're only going to get a fifth. Wait till it dries and then you can cut. Okay, so let's see if this is advantageous for Raylan and Artland. So one bike gives you 5 hats. You're going to have to get 5 hats for one bike. Well, let's see who would have to be needing.
It already dried.
This is like falling apart.
It already dried.
It didn't already dry. That's all wet. I see it wet. Like, leave it alone. When it's dry, then we'll cut it out. Okay. So I circled what they are doing. Raylan is going to make hats. Artland is going to make bikes. And so Raylan, they're going to have to be importing bikes. So if they want one bike, according to this trade agreement, they're going to have to give up 5 hats for this one bike. Well, they would have had to give up 4 hats on their own. Now you're asking to give up 5 hats for that one bike. The opportunity cost of one bike by themselves is 4 hats. Raylan is not going to like this trade agreement because they could have only given up 4 hats of their own. We're looking for a number that's less than 4 hats, and our trade agreement has 5 hats. Well, that's not good. That's more expensive in terms of hats for that extra bike. Let's look at Artland, though. If they had to make hats on their own, for every hat that they're making, they're giving up a half of a bike. With this trade agreement, 1 hat, they'd be giving up a fifth of a bike. They were giving up a half on their own. Now they're only having to give up a fifth. Well, a fifth is less than half. So they could do it by themselves for half of a bike. But now with this trade agreement, they're only having to give up a fifth of a bike. That's less bikes per hat. So they're going to be happy with this trade agreement. And then last but not least, the question was like, if the productivity triples in Raylan, who's going to have a comparative advantage in hats? Well, if it triples, the ratio is still the same. Whether it's, if Raylan triples, it doesn't matter. If like Raylan's hats tripled, but its bike stayed the same, then it's going to be a different ratio. But can you hold on a second? Just 1 second. Just 1 second. It's not dry. Just 1 second. 1 second. I promise you. Okay. So if both hats and bikes triple, go up by the same amount, the ratio between those two numbers is still the same. It's like, 1 half is still the same as 3/6, even though those just tripled. They're both half. It just simplified. They're the same ratio. And so it's still whoever had the comparative advantage in hats before, because the ratio didn't change. So hopefully that wasn't too distracting of a video. Hopefully my explanations of trade agreements weren't too bad. And sorry I messed up with the hats and bikes and all that earlier. But ask me questions or send me a text or remind if you still have any questions, and I'll be happy to help. Goodbye.